We are live on Tuesday, February the 4th. Quiet before the storm. We are building up to the Super Bowl all week long here on WagerTalk Today, and we will continue with a free Super Bowl prop every day of the week here. Ralph Michaels is going to give us one in a moment, as will Skee Profit. And, of course, the prop master, Andy Lang, is going to be looking at some props. So that's his bread and butter. And then we finish with the Steam Report, as we do every day with Gianni the Greek. So it's a loaded show today on Tuesday. Ralph Michaels, Andy Lang, Skee Profit, and Gianni the Greek. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez. He is on assignment this week. Hey, comment below and let us know what you think Prez is doing. Fake news only here on WagerTalk TV. Joe Ranieri's in the seat yesterday. I'll be here today, and I'll be back on Friday as well. We're rotating guests this week to keep it fresh while the Prez is gone. And let's keep it fresh with our man Ralph Michaels, Stat Daddy, the human database, father of Jeff. Ralph, welcome to the show. Quiet before the storm, but we're getting a little bit closer to Super Bowl 59. And we're all wearing our Kelly green in honor of the Eagles because Dan Alexander would not put us on the air otherwise.
Yeah, I had a different shirt on, and Dan says, "What the hell are you doing? Go change. It is Green Week." So just to tell you this, Steve, Marco and his wife came out to visit me. I'm down in South Florida, so we sat around the pool for a few days, and he went to Gulfstream. He said that when he landed in Vegas, he was the 28th flight on the tarmac. As New Orleans is crazy, but Super Bowl week in Vegas can be as crazy or even crazier.
Yeah, it's a great point, Ralph. Everyone, I remember you and I remember Atlantic City because we're a little bit older, but when they built Atlantic City in the 70s, everyone thought that was going to be the death of Vegas, right? And it did absolutely the opposite. It just made Vegas even better. And I think people kind of thought that as well when 30-some states are going to get legalized sports betting. But yeah, Vegas is still the hub because of the atmosphere and the sports betting. And let's talk about the Super Bowl. What's a prop you're looking at here? We'll get to some college hoops here in a moment, by the way. We will still have the daily sports, but wanted to start it off with the Super Bowl prop since we're talking about the big game here, something that you're looking at.
Well, I already have a best bet loaded. I'm 17-1 on football best bets. I already have 3 prop loaded and might have a best bet prop we're going to see as I work on the last few. This is actually one of my client releases, Steve, and it is a plus money prop. So I always look to try to get a few plus money props. If you split them, you make money. And it is Xavier Worthy will score a touchdown, and we're getting plus 155. Now, listen, Worthy started the season slow. He only had 9 receptions in September, 10 in October, 14 in November, and 26 receptions in December. He was the number 2 receiver as far as targets goes. Of course, he trailed Kelsey. Kelsey had 145 targets, but this kid had 111 targets this year. In the playoffs, he's had 11 receptions. Kelsey has only had 9, and no other receiver, running back, or tight end has had more than 3 catches. And this season, he's leading the team in receiving touchdowns with 7. Kelsey has 4, Gray has 5, Hopkins has 4. Getting this guy who is blasting him late in the season in this situation at plus 155, let's see a Xavier Worthy anytime TD.
Can't disagree with you, Ralph Michaels. I actually used a free prop on his over receptions yesterday here on the show for the exact reasons you mentioned. And I pointed out that odds makers do a good job. They obviously look at seasonal stats, but they do factor in, recency bias. But he's a perfect example of that. He's a first-round draft pick, fastest guy in the history of the NFL. He broke the 40-yard dash record in the combine. And you're right. He barely got the ball in September. I think he had 4 targets or less in every one of the first games in September, the first 4 weeks. And he's had more receptions than that the last couple months per game. And yeah, I think you get your big playmaker and your fast guy the ball, especially with Andy Reid having an extra week to prepare. I like where you're going with that. I think any kind of plus money props with Worthy, whether it's receptions over 5.5 or to score a touchdown, is worth a look in the big game. So love that you're on the same page with me with the X Factor, Xavier Worthy.
Let me mention one more thing, Steve. If you are a prop player playing on Kelsey or Barkley, do not bet any unders until Sunday. You are going to get so much value with those 2 public players. Everyone is on the Barkley bandwagon. I'm going to be looking for Barkley's under after these lines and money lines get inflated. So just an extra note that what I'll continue to look at the end of the week, but I would not be betting an under on either of those 2 guys just with all the public money that will be pouring in this week.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Ralph, the props I'm looking at for my clients at WagerTalk are all the B-level players. I think that's the only where you sometimes find value with overs. These Class A guys like, Barkley, Kelsey, and even Worthy, to be honest. I was hoping that price for receptions would be 5 or less. I'm willing to take plus money, but I think they have him priced pretty well also based on recent results. It's those secondary guys, in my opinion, where you can kind of sneak in and make some value in the prop market. All right, we're going to keep doing it every day this week. We will have Super Bowl props for you here on the show. I gave you one yesterday, so did Teddy Covers. Ralph Michaels just gave you one. We've got Andy Lang, Skee Profit coming up in a moment. Also, Gianni the Greek with the Steam Report for Tuesday. Speaking of daily sports with Gianni, we'll talk a lot about. Let's look at some college hoops tonight, Ralph. Nice little card in the SEC. I looked at the updated top 10 rankings that came out last night. I think 4 of the top 6 are SEC teams. 5 of the top 10 are SEC. I mean, that's a loaded conference this year, and we've got some good games tonight. Let's start with Kentucky and Ole Miss. I did a video, actually, for the Kentucky-Arkansas game on Saturday, and I mentioned on the surface that would have been a flat spot normally as a double-digit home favorite sandwiched between 2 big road dog games against Tennessee and Ole Miss. But, of course, Calipari was coming back to town. What's your take on this Kentucky team tonight? They had the big upset win against Tennessee last week before that game on Saturday.
Well, first, let's say this. Kentucky as a dog this year, not only 4-0 against the spread, but they pulled a 4.5-point upset at Miss State, a 5.5-point upset versus Duke in a neutral setting, a 6.5-point upset versus Gonzaga in a neutral setting, and a 10.5-point upset at Tennessee, in a game you mentioned. Kentucky is a very fast-tempo team. They're number 38. They're also a poor defensive team. When you look at like Torvik since the turn of the calendar, Kentucky is the number 1 most efficient offense. Their defense is over 150. It is not good. You look at Ole Miss, though. They're in a bit of a funk themselves. You are 1-4 straight up. You have failed to cover 4 straight games. And at home, you're 4-6 ATS overall. But how about this number, Steve? Ole Miss in the first half at home, you want to talk about slow starts? They are 1-9 against the spread. Now, that situation would say, I like Kentucky or I like Kentucky first half, but I can't get there for just one reason. Kentucky's best player, point guard Lamont Butler. No question about it. He's missed the last 2 games. So that Kentucky upset against Tennessee is even better, knowing that Butler didn't play, and then he wasn't there against Arkansas. I can't back Kentucky in a true road game, even though they won at Tennessee, if Butler does not go. If I read later that Butler is going and is 100% healthy, I may actually take a look at this game. But for my best bet here on WagerTalk today, I am going to go team total Ole Miss over 80.5. Again, we've talked about Kentucky's defense. Ole Miss's offense, they do not turn the ball over, folks. They are number 3 in the country in fewest turnovers. Guess what? Kentucky's defense is number 341. So you have a team that is not going to have pressure against an opponent that may not have their point guard covering your point guard with an efficient offensive against a very inefficient defense for the Wildcats. So for me, team total, the Rebel over 80.5.
So a little SEC basketball. That is your ESPN game at 7 Eastern tonight. Kentucky, Ole Miss. Kentucky goes from being a double-digit dog, double-digit favorite, now to a dog again on the road. And as Ralph said, they've actually been better in that role, as we saw on Saturday when they did not show up against Arkansas as a big home favorite. Another game in the SEC at 7 Eastern, Ralph. This one on the SEC Network is Florida and Vanderbilt. Both teams coming off blowout losses on Saturday. I'm doing a top 25 college basketball video every Friday night for the big game Saturday, and I told people in the video I liked Tennessee Saturday. It was a strong best bet for my clients at WagerTalk. The line was jumping around, went from 4 to 5 down to 2.5, back to 3 because 2 of Tennessee's top 3 players did not play in the game. But just like the NBA, it didn't matter. They ended up winning by over 20. It was such a great spot. They had lost by 30 to Florida, Tennessee, coming off back-to-back losses. So I don't really penalize Florida for the blowout loss on Saturday, Ralph. But then again, Vandy lost by 30. Which team do you think bounces back tonight? Florida, an 11.5-point favorite at home.
Well, Vandy got a lot of attention early in the season. And Steve, you talked about those ratings and how many SEC teams were at the top of the standings. This is almost a historically good conference. If you look at Ken Palm's ratings for the SEC, the worst team in the conference is LSU at about 78. If you look at the ACC this year, they have 8 teams that are ranked number 99 and higher. So think about that. The LSU team in the SEC would be a middle-of-the-road team in this year's weak ACC. So something to think about when we get into March Madness with the competitiveness of these conferences. Now, we talk about revenge, and Florida has revenge. Florida lost as a 9-point away favorite last year in March. And in fact, Florida has lost 3 of the last 4 meetings to Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt is a team, their basketball team and their football are basically the same. When you travel to Nashville, the crowds haven't been historically good. And I think a lot of times SEC teams look down when you travel to play Vanderbilt. But now, with Vanderbilt's early upset, beating Tennessee as a home dog, beating Kentucky as a home dog, beating Nevada Wolfpack as a dog, you're looking at a situation where teams are not looking past or taking Vanderbilt as lightly. But when I look at Vanderbilt in true road games, they've only played 5 true road games. The favorite has covered all 5 of those by 10 points per game. Now, I wanted to mention the gold sheet, and I went to the gold sheet to see if they had any notes about this. So I'm going to rattle off these notes from the gold sheet. Florida may be coming off a 20-point loss to Tennessee, but they made more free throws and field goals in that contest. The reason they lost, their star 2 players, Martin and Clayton, 5 of 25 from the floor. They couldn't bounce back. In their 2 games this year off a loss, after losing to Kentucky, they beat Tennessee by 30. After losing to Missouri, they crushed Texas by 24. In the 16-team SEC, Vanderbilt is number 14 in defensive efficiency, last in field goal shooting allowed, 15th in the number of free throws they allow. They foul a lot. And last in 3-point shooting allowed. So you have all those negative defensive categories is a situation where I will look for the Florida team total to go over. I also do like the team total over as well. Florida presses the pace as much as anyone. They're number 31 in offensive tempo. Vanderbilt number 30 in offensive tempo. So I'm going to split this best bet. Full game over the total. Florida team total over the total. We'll see if the Gators can get it done for us this evening.
Yeah, and by the way, that full game total right now about 155 as we check the WagerTalk live odds screen, which is free at WagerTalk.com. And Ralph, I forgot to mention it is $2. I'm old school. $5 Tuesday, which is better, by the way, than the old $2 Tuesday because that was one capper once a week. $5 Tuesday is every capper, every Tuesday, every week. So Ralph's got a $5 play. I've got a $5 play. Oprah Winfrey's got a $5 play. We all get a car. $5 Tuesday. Ralph, what do you have going on? What do you got at WagerTalk.com?
Well, I have a $5 college basketball revenge game of the week. But, Steve, I want to mention this. If you have not loaded the free WagerTalk Super Bowl guide, head to my homepage. Again, absolutely free. Check out how 45 props have done over the last 15 years. It has the last 6 years of Super Bowl stats, both team and players. It's fun because it shows you what squares have hit how many times. But before you make a prop bet, make sure you check out that sheet and find out some of the incredible records that have occurred over the last 15 years in Super Bowl action.
Yeah, Ralph, you put out a lot of great stuff at WagerTalk.com, but I will say my favorite thing all year is probably your Super Bowl prop sheet. And you got it up literally the day of the NFC and AFC championship games. It was ready to roll, and it's the last 15 Super Bowls, spreadsheet format on all the big spots. 3 teams will score, yes or no. First team that scores wins the game. Winner at halftime wins the game. It's some great content, and love how you keep that updated each and every year.
Steve, one I'll share with you if people didn't watch last week. Will the team to score last win the Super Bowl? This used to be like a minus 140 prop a few years ago. The yes is now 18-0. 18 straight seasons, the team that has lost last has won the Super Bowl. Now, the price has gone up, and I will blame that on me and on Wager Talk because these sportsbook directors
clarify that again. The team you're saying the team that did or did not score last wins the Super Bowl. Clarify
the team that
everybody.
Scored last did win the game 18 Correct. Straight years. Like I said, a couple years ago, it was only minus 140. It's now up to like minus 180. So the sportsbook guys are smart. They catch up to this. They see the trends. They download the guides. But to me, if you're looking at a trend that has covered 18 straight, I'd either be backing it or passing on it. I wouldn't be playing into that situation.
So that's priced at minus 180 right now for this year?
It is 180. When I looked a couple days ago, I don't look at that every day, but when I was looking at an update and I was doing a radio show earlier this year, but like I said, 3 years ago, it was minus 140 that they would win the game, and it's gone up each of the last 3 years, juice-wise, in that span.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, that's not a prop I dug into yet, but it seems like that's the only way you could possibly play them. There's so many extrinsic reasons as well. First of all, Kansas City barely wins any game by more than a single-digit margin, so it should be tight. It's a 1 point spread, 1.5 point spread, so it should be tight. They just played each other 2 years ago, and that game was decided on a final field goal. Last year, the Chiefs went in overtime. It's hard not to imagine that's got a good chance of cashing again, even without that 18-0 run. So, once again, great information. This is what you get when you download the free Super Bowl prop sheet for the last 15 years of results. Just go to Ralph's page, RalphMichaelsWagerTalk.com, and you get there quicker, WT.buzz/RM. Go to SM, you get to my page. I was getting confused there for a moment. RM is Ralph Michaels, SM is Steve Merrill, WT.buzz/RM. All right, let's keep it rolling. That was Ralph Michaels, and of course, we're going to bring on the prop master, who's actually not going to talk Super Bowl props today because we have so many daily sports. Let's get Andy Lang to talk a little NBA, NHL, golf. Whew. I think that's fair enough, Andy. Get 3 different sports in about a 10-minute segment here. Let's get right to it, though. And you will have a ton of Super Bowl content. And I know you've already been doing a lot of work on that. Also, free play videos, don't forget. Well, a bunch of us are doing free plays prop videos all week here as well. So click subscribe, click that bell for an instant alert. You will know when every free play goes up for football and basketball this week on WagerTalk TV. And let's start with the NBA, Andy. How tricky is it this week for you with props? So the trade deadline 2 days away now, this Thursday, February 6th. Feel like we've seen all the big news already, but we might see some other stuff trickle in and out. What's a prop you're looking at tonight in the NBA?
Well, 3-0 last night. We swept the board, so there's still some really, really good spots out there. We're having fun in the chat, Steve. You asked, where's Prez? We're talking that we actually threw him in as part of the Anthony Davis trade. He was the last piece in the Anthony Davis trade, so he's in Dallas.
That's great. The six-pack to be named later.
Yes, they had to make the salaries work. So Gianni Detroit traded Prez to Dallas as part of
the Jewish Canadian to finish the deal.
the shorter. They were looking for that to fill out their team.
They got the average height of the Anthony Davis deal down to 5'6".
Oh, all right. Well, great. Let's talk a little bit about the Lakers. I'm going to go with Austin Reeves. Over 4.5 rebounds. Steve, this is pretty straightforward. The Lakers have now gone from Anthony Davis to Jackson Hayes as their big rebounder. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they might need a little help rebounding. Reeves has gone over in 5 straight games. And the last 3 games without Anthony Davis, he's had 6, 6, and 5. So LeBron, Reeves, Hachimura, those guys are all going to have to help crash. Kawhi's playing. That's a big body. Obviously, Zubac. I mean, Steve, Zubac's rebound number tonight is 12.5. That's how big the opposing team's center is against the Lakers. So it's just going to have to be a team effort from the Lakers. So I'll take Reeves to go over 4.5 rebounds.
It's good stuff from Andy Lang. I'm trying to pull up the live chats here. It always slows down my browsers, so I'm slowly doing. I forgot I'd ask that question, so I'm glad people are chiming in. And if you're not in the live chat and you're watching us afterwards, as most people do, YouTube comments below live forever. That's even a better place to put your thoughts and comments as well here on WagerTalk TV. Once again, the question at the top of the show, if you missed it, was Prez is gone this week. What is Prez doing? Fake news only. All right, Andy, let's get to NHL prop tonight. What's something you're looking at in pro hockey?
Oh, we've done really well betting on Sam Bennett this season, so we're going to keep it rolling over 2.5 shots on goal. This was a free play that we put up on our page and actually decided to throw it in as a client play. Steve, this guy is firing the puck at an astounding rate the last 10 games. Easily gone over this the last 10 games. 7.1 shot attempts and 4.9 shots on goal. So we only need him to get to 3. In the last 10 games, this guy's averaging 4.9. He is just every time he gets the puck, it seems like he's firing it towards the net. So it's a pretty decent matchup for him tonight. This is one of those where, like Joe Ranieri says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know how I love riding these streaks, Steve. I find these guys and you just play the same play over and over and over again. So Sam Bennett, over 2.5 shots on goal, has got to be a play tonight.
And that's been winning for you, correct? How's that run been on that prop, and how long? And tell people, once again, explain to the new viewers, when you're talking about riding these streaks, Gianni talked on it yesterday, and I know Marcos talked about it, right? You can technically win infinite times and only lose once when you're riding the hot streak, but if you're trying to catch that falling knife and go contrarian, you could lose 10 times until you're right.
So when I pick a prop like this, and we're going to go over another one right after this, you'll see a theme here. It's not necessarily a play that I'm just focusing on for tonight. When I pick a prop, I'm probably going to play it the next 3 or 4 games in a row. So, Bennett has gone over the last 10 games. So if you picked up this streak 4 or 5 games ago, you've been cashing on it every night. So when you're doing these props, you're looking at long-term, not just a one-time thing. I'll give you a client play last night was Paolo Banchero. He's not been great in his points, rebounds, and assists since he came back from injury. I think he's played 10 games. He's gone over an 8. So we played him again last night. And he wasn't even close. They had him at 35.5 PRA. He didn't even get to 30. But it wasn't just about last night. It's about moving forward that the books have this number that is off. So we're looking at, we want to go like 5-1, 6-2 in some of these props as opposed to just 1-0. So that's how I look at these props.
And the other thing I was going to say, Andy, too, is when you decide to get off a prop, 2 out of 3 losses, or that's probably the most important thing, right, is when the streak is ended. Because you said even if he loses tonight, you're going to probably ride it still.
I almost jump off. If I've hit 3 or 4 in a row and I have that one loss, I'll jump off of it because I can say, you know what, I just went 4-1 on this prop. Julius Randle was a great one. We were playing his under 3-pointers. Steve, you couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and he got hurt. So unfortunately, we couldn't play him anymore. But like once I was ready to just be off that Randall prop once he went over one time, because it was like, okay, we hit 5 out of 6. You move on to the next one. You take your profits on that one prop, and then you find the next one. So honestly, if I hit a few games in a row and I hit one loss, I'm probably done and I'm moving on to the next one.
And that's the beauty of the daily sports, and this will work in baseball as well. Baseball less than 2 months away. Hockey, basketball, baseball, the daily sports really work well. NFL's a little different. Football, because you got a week off and you got totally different matchups every week. Golf, theoretically, you have a week off, but they also play like 4 out of 7 days. So I know you use this approach with golf, and you got a golf prop for us as well this week.
Here we go again. Just rinse and repeat. You got to commit to playing this every single event. This was one of our best ones of the year. I'm giving you guys my best stuff here. So John Rahm goes to the Live Tour. The Live Tour only has like 60 guys playing, and they're not that great. There's only like 3 or 4 guys that I would say are elite golfers. You got Tyrrell Hatton, Joaquin Niemann, John Rahm, but Cam Smith, he used to be winning majors. Now he doesn't care. Brooks Koepka, his careers on the backside. So you got John Rahm to finish top 10. And last year, Steve, in 13 live events, he only finished outside the top 10 one time. And that was when he had to withdraw because he had a foot infection. It wasn't even play. It wasn't even caliber of play. It was because he had an infection in his foot. So this play is minus 170. And most people would say, well, that's really expensive. I think it's a steal. This is a steal. He finishes in the top 10 every single time. He's the best player on that tour. So this week, the tournament starts on the Eastern time. It starts about 8:30 in the morning. But they're playing it overseas. And Steve, this is crazy. They're playing at night. They have lights on this golf course. So they're going to be playing at night, but it starts in the morning our time. So you're just playing John Rahm to finish top 10 in all of these live events. And again, if I hit 12 out of 13 of these, Steve, and I'm only playing minus 170 each time, yeah, this is going to be a moneymaker all season.
It's almost as good as the 18-0 Super Bowl prop that's only minus 140 up to minus 180 that Ralph just gave us. So, yeah, some good information, some good streaky props here today on WagerTalk Today. And once again, Andy Lang will have this all week long for the Super Bowl. He's working on that. He does daily props for the daily sports. He is the prop master, and I say this seriously. If you're looking to diversify your portfolio, Andy's not a bad guy to have. You know, Andy, they had the final rankings for 2024 at WagerTalk, you and I were both top 5, units 1. And I meant to reach out to you and also the staff. We should still do this. I'd love to see over the hundreds, and I think I had about 700-800 plays total. You probably had at least that many as well. I bet you and I maybe did not have an identical best bet on or against anything all season. And you literally we both doubled our clients' bankrolls and then some. So once again, it does show the importance of diversification. I'm doing sides and totals. I do have a Super Bowl team total, and you'd be proud of me. I had my first NBA first half over-under last night with cashed in your Pacer game, by the way. So I am broadening the horizons a little bit. I'm seeing the opportunities. But, yeah, it really is a great way to diversify. Let everybody know what else you got going on. It's $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk.
Well, Steve, this may be the greatest week in sports betting for myself and for clients. You've got the Super Bowl. You've got probably my favorite golf tournament, the Phoenix Open, known as the Waste Management. That's the one where everyone parties and dresses up in costumes, and they have that crazy 16th hole. On Thursday is the very first week of the Premier League Darts League. I'll be talking about darts tomorrow. We'll talk about that, and we'll tell everyone about that tournament. You have that. We have a 5% UFC best bet that is up Saturday. We're number 1 in MMA. We're coming off a sweep in NBA, so we're running a 7-day special. It's too hard to focus on just one sport this week, so let's run a 7-day special. Discounted down to $69. Steve, we're on a 41-17 run the last 2.5 weeks for plus 41 units. Yeah, red hot. And this is across all sports. So it's, like I said, it's tough to focus on one sport. Let's just get everything for 7 days, $69. That UFC 5% best bet, that's $35. Just bump it up to 70 and get every single play. Darts, golf, Super Bowl props, NBA, NHL, soccer, tennis, all of that is included. WT.buzz/AL. Still holding on strong as number 1 handicapper, all sports the last 2 years.
Yeah, once again, 41-17 run the last 2 weeks alone. $5 Tuesday is nice, but that $69 7-day special works out to less than $10 a day for everything that Andy does. I talk about diversifying. Andy diversifies within his own portfolio. I forgot about darts, golf, MMA, darts, auto racing, and the big boy sports as well. Andy Lang, WT.buzz/AL. Don't call him Al, but use AL to get there quicker. All right, let's keep it rolling. We're going to come right back now with another top capper at WagerTalk.com. And we're going to talk a little NBA now. We've done some college hoops. We've done some NHL and NBA Profit. Skee Profit is the NBA expert. Do we have the Skee? No Skee? No Skee. And we don't have Gianni on the Steam report yet. Dan, do you dare come on and talk your Eagles with me for a moment? Your mic's hot.
I mean, I'm always ready to talk birds. Yesterday, Steve, we talked about a prop that we had for the folks that was actually on Pat Mahomes. So we started off with a Pat Mahomes prop for the folks. It was his rushing yards over.
Let's bring Andy Lang back on if he can pull him up, Dan. We'll talk a little Mahomes. Andy, what are your thoughts on I'll ask all you guys this. Ralph brought up a point that if you like Barkley or Kelsey, I would say Mahomes fits the same criteria. If you like any unders, you wait until the 11th hour on Super Bowl Sunday to play it. What do you think, Andy, as far as these big boy props? Do you still find value with the over with these guys anytime? I mean, for me, I didn't see a lot of over this year with the big name props, to be honest. I'm looking more at the secondary players.
For Mahomes, I'm looking at over his rushing totals. When it comes time to playoffs and Super Bowl, he goes over this all the time. His 2 biggest rushing totals as far as attempts this year, Steve, were the playoff games. You go back to the playoffs. His lowest total in the last 9 games has been 5. So I'm looking at over 5.5 rush attempts for him. He doesn't throw the ball away if he has a chance to run. He's really good at not taking sacks. He's not going to make the dangerous play. So I like him to go over his rushing totals. And honestly, Steve, I love both quarterbacks to not throw an interception. You can even do a same game parlay with that. These guys have combined for 17 games in a row with no interceptions. Think about that. 17 games between Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes where they have not thrown an interception. These guys are very careful with the ball. They're very well coached, and they just don't take the unnecessary risks.
I think that's an excellent point, Andy. It's something I want to expand on because, in Super Bowls in the 80s and 90s when we were all growing up, we had the blowout factors, and the NFC really dominated for a while. And you always saw defensive scores, lots of turnovers, mistakes. This game should be tight. It's a rematch, 2 experienced teams. The point spread's just 1.5 points. But as you said, neither quarterback makes mistakes either. So I think that is something you got to factor in when you're handicapping the props and how this game might play out as well, as turnovers should be pretty limited once again in this go-around. All right, that once again, Andy Lang. Find him at WagerTalk.com, the prop master. Our producer, Dan Alexander, made us all wear Kelly green. Even Andy had green in the background. So let's see what Skee Profit is wearing. Skee doesn't follow the rules. I'd be very disappointed if Skee's in green. He's not in green, but he makes green. He cashes green.
And Steve froze. I think he closed his own call there, Skee.
Just start talking, Skee. Just start going over your plays.
What do you got for us, Skee? I'll hop in for him. What do you got for us, NBA?
Hit the damn back button. I've never done that in 4 years, Dan.
I knew he did that. I knew he was talking, and I knew he X'd out his own call. I could tell because he was.
But I didn't think I had, and I kept talking. Man, I gave some free winners. So I gave the five top plays of the Super Bowl away, but since we're short on time, I can't do it again. I said that Skee didn't wear green, but he makes green. Let's talk some NBA in a moment. But you got a Super Bowl prop for us, Skee. I apologize. I'm disappearing momentarily. I'm back.
You're muted, Skee.
Comes in threes.
I guess we just suck on this show, or I suck on this show. I guess I don't know what to do anymore.
It's somehow Prez's fault.
Okay,
let's blame Prez.
NFL, it's pretty easy for me. I mean, it's a recurring wager that I make every single year, and it could happen just the regular flow of the game. The most common way it happens is they throw a flag in the end zone or in the red zone, whatever, the ball is placed on the 1 yard line, and the team just, in the Super Bowl environment, they're going to go for it. Especially the Eagles. You got Saquon, you got the tush push. They're going to go for that. The under 1.5 yards for shortest touchdown is hit 7 of the last 9 years, 24 of the last 35 Super Bowls. The price, similar to what Ralph said, it continues to go up every year. It was around minus 165. And if you look at the implied probability of that, that's about 62.5%. And it hits a little bit closer to 70%. So I still think it's a good bet. And I can absolutely see it between these two teams.
I like what you're doing there, Skee, too. I do this a lot with my props. I think the average bettor has a difficult time figuring out what the money line is worth. And you're talking about the implied probability of something cashing or not. You got to do that when you're laying 150, 170, 180, or 130. It's not about the number. It's more about the money line on a lot of these props. So it's something that's very important to do. And when you're doing your own work out there, folks, make sure you do the math. And look, I'll quickly tell you how to do it. If it's minus 170 plus 150, that's saying the true line should be minus 160. You do minus 160 over 260 divided, and that'll give you a percentage of what the break-even mark would be for any prop that you're looking at. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's talk some NBA. You're an NBA expert. Andy gave us a little bit of a taste of a prop, but we want to look at some actual games with you. Skee, let's start first of all. Your thoughts on the trade deadline. How differently do you handicap, especially some big-name teams? I'm not sure there's any worry with the Celtics Cavs tonight on TNT, but it's definitely a high-profile game.
Yeah, around the trade deadline, you just have to be careful. I mean, you never know who can be ruled out last second in the deal. You kind of maybe just monitor the teams that you see that are interested in making deals, and just be a little bit more careful. Maybe play those teams later in the day. As far as what has happened, I think De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs is a big move. It'll make them a contender in the West for years to come. And then Luka Doncic to the Lakers. Obviously, I love that. It gives them, life after LeBron. So they have a chance for the future, and they still can make some moves to win right now. And then last but not least, or maybe not last, but got to mention AD to Dallas. A lot of people are down on that move. I think that Dallas will still be very competitive. They're going to have extremely good defense. Like, they have plenty of bigs to protect the paint. AD will also likely be better offensively because he's in his natural position, the position he's been begging to play since before he came to LA. So I like a lot of the moves that were made. The only one I don't like is LaVine to the Kings. I feel like, I know he has a bad contract, but I would like to see LaVine play for a winning team for once. So that's how I'm feeling about moves that are made. That's how I feel about capping around the trade deadline.
What are your thoughts on this game tonight, Celtics Cavs? I mean, a definite possibility this is an Eastern Conference preview for the finals this year.
Yeah, we already saw them play once back in the beginning of December. The Cavs won 115 and 111. And the Cavs, I mean, I thought it was a little bit smoke and mirrors, but they haven't really slowed down. They're now what 40-9, I believe. Still haven't had double digit losses, and like I mentioned, they already beat this team. If you look at what they've been doing lately, they're off of a 40-something point win, 20-something point win. Like they've won their last 4 games by close to 20 plus points each. So they're playing really good basketball in rhythm. Sitting here at the house, it's very hard for me to go against them. They've only lost 4 games at home all season long. The Celtics, they're a team that they get up for certain games. Like if they feel it's a big game, or if they feel they got embarrassed or lost a game, then they'll get up and play a really good game the next time out. It could be this time when they see a team that they lost to, a team on the top of the Eastern Conference standings. But personally, I care more about current form. Team has been doing it consistently, so I'll lean with the Cavaliers at the house for this matchup.
That's the 7:30 Eastern game on TNT tonight, Boston at Cleveland. And we also have another good one on TNT and True TV at 10 o'clock Eastern following that, the doubleheader tonight. LA versus LA. Clippers the home team, Lakers the road team. You already kind of touched upon the big trade and what you thought of it. Your LA Lakers, Skee, against sometimes your LA Clippers. What are you doing with this one?
They haven't been my LA Clippers for a long time. But I'll say I do actually like this Clippers team. Like compared to previous years, like I'll give this Clippers team some credit. They look good. I like the way they're put together. And I think they have a better chance of competing than previous years. As far as this game, Lakers do have the rest advantage. It's a chance for them also to get some in-season revenge in this game. They did win back-to-back games in blowout fashion. But this particular game against the Clippers, it's tough. You have a Clippers team coming off of a loss, so they should be motivated to bounce back here. And this Clippers team has been playing really good at home all season long. I believe they've covered 12 out of 15 games at the house. So just kind of, maybe you'll say Jekyll and Hyde, home and road, however you want to call it, for this Clippers team. They're healthier right now. They're where they play their best basketball. I could only look at the Clippers from a spread perspective. From a total, I mean, no Anthony Davis, no Max Christie. That's a lot of defense that you're missing. And they haven't really gotten any replacements yet. Gabe Vincent, he's probably going to be one defender, maybe Vando, but it's just not a whole lot of people on this roster right now that you can trust to get stops. So I think the market has moved correctly towards the over from 216.5 up to 221.5. And I don't even think it's moved enough. I think they can still get over that.
Yeah, once again, we've seen a little bit of move on this total, to say the least. And the side also, Clippers have gone from 6 up to 8.5. Total, as Skee said, 216.5 up to 221 now as of Tuesday afternoon. And Skee talking a little NBA, but you got a $5 college basketball best bet tonight for $5 Tuesday. You're on a 21-10 run. But people also might want to check out the last day of your special offer. We can get the NBA for $1 when you get college hoops. Tell us more about everything.
Yeah, college basketball, this is really my first season betting this many games, like betting a full season. I've been following it closer and closer and closer each year, and I'm doing well. I'm pretty sure I'm still number one in college basketball, WagerTalk, somewhere around, 40 units or maybe 35 if I just came off of a loss. But things have been going well there. My top plays, 3% or higher in college. I've hit 15 out of 17 so far this season. So if you would like to get involved, like Steve said, you can get my NBA and college basketball together, $209 for both, and that expires tonight. So I didn't mention my NBA, but NBA since 2021, pretty sure like plus 212 or more. So it's a good time to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, Skee's a basketball expert. This is what he specializes in. As he said, he's added college hoops to his arsenal as well. He's doing quite well. It's basically buy a 30-day college hoops. You can add the NBA for $1 more. So it's like basically buy one, get one for both college and pro hoops combined. Or if you want to try out that strong college play tonight to sample it, it's $5 Tuesday. But once again, that 30-day special expires tonight, so you might want to get it right afterwards and lock in for the next month. Skee Profit, WagerTalk.com. You can get there quicker, WT.buzz/HP. All right, let's finish it off with the Daily Steam Report. Gianni the Greek, ace. He's going to look at the daily sports and let us know where the lines are moving. What you got for us?
All right, a little college basketball, a little NBA. We can start off with the NBA. I know everybody's here for the college hoops, so let's get this out of the way. 521 Boston plus the 2, 527 Knicks -4 after the drop, got dummied down to -4, and then 530 under 228 Miami, Chicago. Over in college basketball, 603 Kent State minus the 7.5. 627 Kentucky plus 5.5. 666 UNLV plus the 3.5. 646 Loyola Chicago minus the 1.5. 650 Northwestern minus 1. 664 BYU on the money line. And 665 Georgia Tech plus 13 and 12.5. So already out betting some of these college basketball. And of course, nothing but props all week. I've been firing props left and right, been able to share 8 of them with subscribers that I thought still had a ton of value, and the ones that I actually. So good week, getting ready for the Super Bowl. And UFC's coming up on Saturday too. Big pay-per-view card.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was going to ask you about it. You got a 5% big move in the UFC. I see on your page right now, and UFC's been pretty good for you.
Yeah, actually, I lost. Came one fight under 500 last week, but coming off my best year, arguably, in the UFC. Finished number 1 in profit over the last 365 days. And those 5% have been money. It's the first one I fired this year, 14-5 over the last 365 on those 5% plays, over 40% ROI, over 40 units won. So I'm very selective with those. And this card really warrants it. So I had to step up and fire. The line's moving our way, so I would not wait. Again, most times than not, if I'm going to fire an MMA play, the market is going to reflect the move. I work with a handful of originators. Really excited about this card. And I was expecting a little bit of a regression. Again, you're never as good as you are on any one day or as bad as you are on any one day. So coming off such a hot year, expected a little regression, but I'm ready to fire, ready to go.
And Johnny, one last thing I'll ask you here is, the line's been 1.5 most of the week. The consensus line at WagerTalk live odds is still 1.5. But if you look at the screen right now, most of the Vegas books I'm looking at are all 1. So what are your thoughts? And what are you hearing about where this line might end up this weekend for the Super Bowl?
It's strange. It's weird because I'm seeing a lot of Kansas City money line bets from recreational bettors that are tied into a lot of college basketball, a lot of NBA, even NHL. Like they're trying to get ahead on those bets. They don't want to tie up their Super Bowl money yet. So if they like an NBA game tonight, they'll parlay it with the Super Bowl, even or a money line favorite in college basketball or NBA with the Super Bowl, hoping that when Sunday gets here, they got a handful of bets on the side they already like. So I don't really think the public's really spoken yet, and that's where the bulk of the money comes. But the books out here in Vegas, the reason they've gone to 1 is because they're getting a lot of Eagles money line. Like they were getting Eagles at plus 110, 115. Bettors were eating that up. So I think that's a reflection of here on the West Coast, which you would think back in Philadelphia is where you would be getting all the Eagle action. But it's happening out here in Vegas too, where they were getting that early Eagles money line action. I think this line, you're not going to get much movement. Like you're not going to get it to where it's a key number. Like you're not going to get it up to 3 where it really matters. Most people are betting the money line if they're betting the dog anyway. Most that are betting the favorite even laying the money line. So I don't think you're going to see much of a movement unless come Saturday, Sunday, it's just so one-sided. But that just hasn't been the case. In fact, I talked about it all the time. Usually by the end of week 1, we're hearing the sportsbook complaining like, oh, everybody's on side A. Everyone's on side A. We need side B. But you haven't heard that this year. And I think it's a reflection of it being more or less a coin flip game. So you expect 50-50 opinions more or less. Because otherwise, what happens is usually get the bettors waiting. If they see the line moving up and you like the dog, there's no reason to fire. If you're seeing the line drop and you like the favorite, there's no reason to fire. This isn't the case this year with it being around a coin flip. So that's why I don't think you're hearing any of the books complaining like, oh, we're just getting pounded with this side. Obviously, their future book is one side or the other. I think most of them would prefer to have the Eagles win this Super Bowl. I believe they have a lot more Kansas City exposure to win the Super Bowl than they do Eagles exposure, coming off the Eagles last year, how they crumbled down the stretch. But otherwise, I think it's going to be one of those Super Bowls where the books have a really good hold. I think when you factor in the props, the negative EV teaser bets, negative EV parlay bets, and, bettors laying 115 on a coin flip, it's hard for the books not to make money on a Super Bowl. And I think regardless of the outcome, I think this will be one of the more profitable ones because of the volume, and the hold should be good.
Yeah, it's an excellent point about how bad the Eagles finished last year. People forget, what were they, 10-1 and then like 1-6 or something to finish. So that probably did affect the initial future action at the beginning of the season. It's funny too, the 1.5 to 1, not a huge move, but if it was a regular season game, that would be so critical for teasers. And I still think the Eagles at 7.5 would be a nice teaser. But I'll tell you, I think last week we missed the opportunity. The Senior Bowl was very accurate. It was a 2.5 point spread in the college All-Star game, and it landed 3. That was probably our teaser opportunity in hindsight. I mean, do you see any way to take advantage of this? I mean, the total really does not give you a teaser opportunity to tie it up with.
That's the problem. Unless you have an open-end teaser that you want to fill in next year.
For 7 or 8 months, right?
Hold it right. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't just, again, it's the Super Bowl, so people want action, so I get it. If you're betting for entertainment, have at it. Throw in a teaser, throw in a parlay. But if you're betting for profit like we do, we bet every day. And the last thing we want to do is bleed out our edge, bleed out our bankroll. It's almost impossible for me to tease the game because I'd have to tie it in with the total. Like, I just can't do that. It was hard enough for me to tease Ohio State because I'm just so accustomed to never teasing college football. And we talked about that this late in the season. It was probably a good bet. I actually ended up making it. And it did well because of the line was so sharp. And here's another great time to tease it. Like you said, if you could get 1.5 and tease the Eagles up to 7.5 in what's supposed to be a really close game, a Super Bowl, you would do it. But the problem is with what side? You know what I mean? That's where the problem comes in for the bettors that are just looking for EV spots. So for me, it's just not going to be a teasable game. But if you're teasing it, I hope you cash it. And hopefully you're not laying more than, 125 or so, 130 probably they're charging now at most books, and even higher. But whatever you do, don't bet the coin toss. Unless you're, even at minus 105, you shouldn't bet the coin toss. But anyone laying minus 110s, 115s, like I'm seeing, I got back ends to a couple off-screen books, friends of mine that run sheets that let me peek in there. And you'd be surprised, Steve, as of right now, the most volume as far as ticket count, not the most money, but the most ticket count is on the coin flip. And it doesn't make sense to me. They're charging 115 on those books. So it's a 50-50 proposition. You should be getting even money to break even and plus 101 for it to be a good bet. If you're laying 115, again, it's bad bets win all the time, just like good bets lose all the time. But if you get in the habit of placing bad bets, it's a mathematical certainty you're going to lose your bankroll. It's already predetermined by the fact you're looking to lay minus 115 on coin flips. Again, if you're doing it for action and for fun, I get it. But if you're truly investing money and looking at the sports betting market as an investment vehicle, or even something you want to not lose to, the last thing you need to be doing is laying 115s on coin flips. It's just not a good approach.
I just don't even understand why the sports books are making everybody pay that. In fact, our friends offshore, I believe Bet Online had minus 101 each way when I checked. Dave Mason was doing that. And I was like, what a brilliant idea, right? Because you still have the edge and you're going to get more action. But to make a bad bet and then pay a bad price when you can get minus 110 or even minus 101 somewhere, it's just off the charts laziness.
But they know they're going to get it. That's the problem. They know they're going to get it. They're betting, most of them most of these are credit shops. Remember that. They're credit shops. Yeah. The post-ups, they may be 105, minus 110, or Bet Online minus 101. But the credit shops, those bettors usually don't have the money to post. They're going week by week by week. So if that's the only place they could bet it and they want to bet it, they're going to bet it. And because these guys know that, they're jacking it up, 110s, 115s all day, and they're still betting it. So, I don't think it's fair. And as a bookmaker, I'd have a little bit of a conscience, I believe. But if they're willing to take it, why wouldn't I offer it? You know what I mean? It would be foolish not to offer it. It's like someone wants to pay you double for a car. What are you going to tell them? Don't pay me? They come to buy your car and they want to pay you more than you're asking for. You're going to say, no, don't do it. So, I don't blame them for charging 115. As the market dictates the value at the end of the day. If we refuse to be taken advantage of, they'll stop taking advantage of us. But as long as we accept it, they're just going to keep doing it. And why wouldn't they? That's how I look at it.
Such an excellent point, and we'll close on that because that's what I've said with legalized sports betting the last 2 or 3 years, where they're dealing 24-cent lines on football sides and totals, minus 113, minus 111 the other way. It's not good, but then again, they're doing it for a reason. It's because people pay the price and they're too lazy to shop around and get better. But hopefully here on WagerTalk TV, WagerTalk.com, we educate people. And speaking of which, the Steam Room is a great way to educate people and to teach them how to bet correctly. Tell people more about that and what else you got going on at WagerTalk.com.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, I'll be having it on Super Bowl Sunday because I have such a big list of props. I always tell my guys, come in there with your leans already circled. I'll tell you what we bet because if I release them all, people would be like, about volume in the past, it would be ridiculous. Now I've been going lower volume, but even in the Super Bowl, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity and fire more than I would have. So we're going to be in there on Sunday for about 2 hours going over the Super Bowl, looking at the college basketball and anything else that's going on, but mostly talking about the props and, of course, money management and year-to-date long-term results. I always go over that. I'm accountable to my guys. They don't just buy. I have to face them week in and week out. That's the part I love. It puts the pressure on me. And, of course, I got my UFC 312 card up with a 5%. I got my Super Bowl card up. 5%'s already in there, plus 8 props already. Don't know how many I'll finish with, but if it's a good bet, I'm going to fire. So best of luck to you guys. Join us on Sunday for Super Bowl Sunday. You'll have more than enough time to go to the parties. We're going to do it early in the morning like usual, probably 9:30 to 11:30 Pacific time, 12:30 to like 2:30 Eastern time. So you got more than enough time to get to your parties. And best of luck. Best of luck to you. Thanks for having me, Steve.
You can catch Chase on Last Call right before that, also noon Eastern on Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. Last Call programming here as well. Once again, get there quicker, wt.buzz/VR, Vegas Runner at wagertalk.com. All right, that'll do it. I'll be back on Friday co-hosting. I'm not sure who's in the seat tomorrow. I think it's Joe again. Either Joe or Dan will be here tomorrow. It will be Prez free. You are safe to come back on Wednesday and watch Wager Talk Today each and every day this week. And once again, comment below. We read the comments, we reply back. Let's have some fun. Guess where Prez is? Where's Waldo this week? Fake answers only. On a serious note, though, hit subscribe and click that bell for instant alerts. I'll be doing free play videos each and every day of the week for college and pro hoops. Also, tons of Super Bowl content. I will have a Fade the Public Super Bowl edition up later this week. So click subscribe and click that bell for an instant alert. Thumbs up, like, comment below, and check out, once again, $5 Tuesday right now. Every capper, including myself, Steve Merrill, $5 best bet. That's an instant 80% discount off the normal price on Tuesdays only. But you also might want to check out Free Tuesday because when you sign up right now for the one-year special, you get the rest of this week for free, and that includes tonight on Tuesday. Super Bowl to Super Bowl for $23 a week, all sports, all access, college and pro basketball, football, baseball, everything I release for the next 365 days and nights with an $800 discount, and including the rest of this week for free. No promo codes needed. That Super Bowl, the Super Bowl special is live right now in advance at wagertalk.com. And once again, come back tomorrow, noon Eastern on Wednesday. We'll do this again live here on Wager Talk TV. Best of luck and stay tuned. There's plenty of free play content coming up next.